print media, the newspapers, which there are several in this town, and the broadcast media, and split it out, radio and television, because I know KPBS and KOGO, cover the mayor.
Right. Well, I would say print in general. When you're talking about newspapers, there's a wide spectrum. You have the UT, which is now kind of right of Reagan, and then you have City Beat, which is now, not now, it has been kind of left of Lenin. So you have different kind of philosophies and reporters that you have to deal with. I think the UT overall was fair to us. And I think they don't come necessarily with a huge slant in dealing with the reporters. When I started, Matt Hall was the City Beat reporter, and Craig Gustafson, and I think both of them gave us a fair shake. Sometimes on the investigative side, that's a completely different animal. They'll spend months on a story, and I think they feel compelled to produce a story that isn't all that positive. If they go in there and do research, one of the stories that they did was on city payroll, and they had reported that despite Sanders implementing 6% salary cuts to all city employees, that payroll was actually going up, and they basically implied that Sanders wasn't being forthright with the public. Well, their methodology and how they came to that conclusion was entirely flawed. And we sat down with them, we went over that. There was long discussions that even rose to Karen Winter, the editor's level, me calling her on a Saturday to tell her that if they ran with this story, we were going to be asking for a front page retraction. And fortunately, some changes were made to the story. Not so much to our liking. We would have preferred that there be some other things, but their premise wasn't flawed, or was flawed. They ran this huge A1 story with stacks of $100,000 bills piled up. It took up about 3/4 of the front page, and so there are going to be times, there are going to be stories that we need to deal with. But I think for the most part, 90% of my interaction with the media, with the print, whether it's the UT or City Beat, was fair. I figured they were going to give us a fair shake. On the TV side, sometimes things were portrayed a little bit more dramatically or more controversial than they were. And sometimes that's the nature of television news. But I think overall, we were given a fair shake. I think eventually they knew the position that the mayor was in, that he had inherited a mess, and wasn't looking to move to the next level, to get elected to something else, that his intentions were changing.
Radio?
Radio, we didn't have much interaction with radio. KOGO for a while. Phil Farrar was the City Hall beat reporter. He was fair to us. And then I think they downsized quite a bit. We dealt a little bit with LaDonna Harvey, who was the midday talk show host. She was very critical of the city and of the budget problems and street resurfacing and things like that. And our cities aren't up to snuff, or excuse me, our streets aren't up to snuff. A lot of improvements still need to be made, but we made dramatic progress in resurfacing the streets, but she kind of always harped on that issue, as do a lot of people. I mean, it is an issue, but...
yeah, I do it too.
Yeah.
Michael Shames, your